My name is Mark McCall, and I'm certainly excited to be here today to talk about BackTrack. And I think we're waiting on we're waiting on a few more people, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to share my screen. And now that I have the power to share the screen, and I don't know, Brian, if you wanted to say anything before we got started talking about BackTrack, or if you wanted me to just jump right in. But
you can jump right in, Mark. That's fine.
All right, excellent. I know some of y'all have been waiting on the call. We've been sitting there watching, so we'll go ahead and get started. We are here to talk about BackTrack Recovery, which is an exciting new feature, really leveraging some of the back-end hosting capabilities of Remote Learner with the Moodle site. This has been in development for a little while, and we're excited to finally launch it and get it out the door. When we first think about recovery and first think about BackTrack, it was originally designed for archival purposes to empower Moodle site administrator to take a snapshot, one of our server snapshots, and be able to manage that snapshot, be able to store it for a long time, for a longer period of time. And a number of other use cases have evolved since we started developing on it, and we'll talk about those different use cases as we get down throughout the presentation. But I'm going to kick off our slide deck with just kind of a quick cartoon. And I don't know if anybody from an admin perspective or a course developer have ever been caught in this situation, but it's definitely a fun situation that I know from the support side at Remote Learner we run into quite frequently. And that is somebody's been working on a new launch, a new course development. They've been working non-stop from a instructional design perspective. They finally get the course ready to go, and it's time to party. Meanwhile, somewhere down in another office somewhere, IT sitting there or server administrators sitting there going, well, let's go through and clean up all of the courses that haven't been used. We have some disgruntled people the next morning. That's normally when we start getting phone calls, emergency cases come flying in, going, hey, can you recover this course? Can you go back into our snapshots and recover that? And in most cases we can. That's not an issue. But BackTrack gives you the power to come back and recover that on your own without having to go through our support center. It puts everything right there within Moodle. So, so throughout the rest of the call, we're really going to focus on BackTrack and some of the functionality and the ease of use. And with that, we'll just continue. BackTrack is made up of two different components, actually three, but the two primary components that you see within your interface, and we'll see it within a Moodle live site here in a minute. But BackTrack gives you access to your nightly snapshots. So it gives you access to in most cases 7 snapshots. So you view every night, roughly around midnight, our servers make a snapshot of your site and the data that's there, and that includes some Moodle and LS data, so all your courses and all your Moodle data get stored in a snapshot. Now those snapshots last for 7 days, and then they roll off as the next one rolls on. And what BackTrack allows you to do is actually take one of those snapshots, drag it over into what becomes an archive snapshot. Now, what's nice about that archive snapshot is it is a permanent location. It's a permanent snapshot or permanent archive of that point in time. And at any time, you can come in into your server, click on the on button, and actually launch a server that is a replica of that snapshot. So it takes that existing data, turns up an entirely new server based on that snapshots, that stored archive snapshot. And now, once you do get that snapshot turned on, again, there's a notice there that the server is up and launched, and you're able to access that archive, pull out any data that you might need, allow anybody else access into the snapshot server if they need to go in and pull data, if they need to go in and review data, or like we said, if something just accidentally got deleted and you need to recover it, it's a good recovery mechanism for any data that went away. One of the other use cases that we'll kind of start to take a look at as well. There's a couple. One is a long-term storage. One is a short-term data recovery. Again, no need to submit cases, no need to worry about if that archive is there or if that snapshot's there. You can always go back. One of the other probably more exciting use cases actually is a point-in-time reporting server. As we'll see, Archive launches recreates your Moodle environment as it was at that point in time. It creates it on a brand new server. And so we have a number of clients that come in and like to run daily reports, and none of those clients like to configure to run those reports and those different analytics really in the middle of the night or in a slow off-peak periods. With BackTrack, you don't have to worry about impact back on the primary server, on your production server. So very easily the next morning, you can come in every Monday morning, drag the Friday file over, run all the reports on the new server, and then when you're have completed that reporting, you can either turn that server off, where it will tear back down, and then you can always turn it back up. But it's proving to be a very positive reporting server as well. So it really allows you to come in and again, really have the time that you need with the point-in-time server to generate the reports that you need on an ongoing basis. Okay. So we'll slip over into our very basic development site here, but we'll jump over into a live site. And where Archives BackTrack exists currently is within the RO dashboard. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about roadmap and where some of these products and features are going to toward the end of the call. And there's some great improvements coming to the RL dashboard. But currently this is a block that is on every remote learner server. It can easily be added if it's not visible, and if it is added to your front page of your site, it is only visible to administrators. So, but within that RL dashboard, you have access to manage archives. That click comes in and it'll go out, pull in from our servers the past 7 days. We're showing 14 days here because simply doing presentations, we needed a few more snapshots to play around with on the left, and then on the right we have a series of 10 available slots, again for demonstration purposes, but each slot can contain an archive. So if I want to come back in, I can choose to either, if I want to grab Sunday's archive, I can click to save, or I can drag it over to an available slot. In most cases, especially around our larger sites, it'll take approximately 30 minutes to get that archive brought over and saved. Smaller sites will take less time, but it should never take more than 30 minutes on the outside to get that archive saved. Again, once we have a snapshot saved over, we can come into any of our available snapshots and click the button to power on that archive, and again, it will take, we've got to take that, rebuild the Moodle environment, and within rebuilding that Moodle environment, when it's ready, again, usually 15 to 30 minutes, the administrators will be notified that it's ready, but it will also be available here with the URL will be made available. And at that point in time, when that URL is available, it's simply clicking on the URL and then logging in to the archive site. Okay, so that site is, again, fully restored with a couple of caveats that we'll talk about. All of the Moodle data, 100% of the Moodle data, 100% of the course data, 100% of the LS data is restored. What's not restored, and we'll grab some of that, is for administrative purposes, basically we don't restore your access to external authentication methods. Okay. Given that this could be 6 months, a year, some of those external systems could have changed from time to time. So manual authentication is how you access the archive site. Once you're in the archive site, you can go through and make any changes. It's a full read-write Moodle system, again running on a separate server than your production server. So anything that happens out here to the archive does not get stored or written back. And I'll kind of point that out on this block that I've loaded into the site, and that is the restored site. That's just a simple HTML block that I came in and added to the site. Again, so I can add content, but that content stays live until I turn the server off. Once I've disabled the server, turned it off, and if I chose to come back in and launch it a second time, then it's going to launch back in its original state. So any changes that have been made will be disregarded. Okay. And really, in a nutshell, that is the three components of archive, the systems, all managed within your primary Moodle site, your production site. It does back up and create the backup. It does include any the sandbox sites that might be associated with that primary Moodle site. So it is a full backup of not just your production site, but any of the, again, sandbox sites that are along with that. The archives stay archived until you come in and choose to delete them. And then once you delete the archive, it cannot be undone. You're deleting the archive version of the site. So you're deleting the actual long-term storage capabilities of that, but the archive will stay, until you choose to delete it. Now, the only exception of that is if you are still within your 7-day window of your available snapshots. And so if you've started taking snapshots, or the system started taking snapshots on Monday, on Tuesday, if I drag over my second day snapshot and then choose to delete it, if it's still within that 7 days, it will come back over into the available snapshots. Okay, but after that 7 days, when you delete an archive, then the archive is gone. Let's see, I'm getting the questions. I'm getting some questions that you're not seeing my screen. And Brian, can you tell me if the screen is being shared, and I'll go through and kind of address some of these other questions.
Yeah, I can see your screen just fine.
Okay. Okay. All right. And we have a question here from Vicky on the 2-hour snapshots. Would they be available on the same day? It just pulls over the end of the day daily snapshot, so it doesn't share the 2-hour snapshots. Now those are still captured, so that if that would still, if you needed it within that 2-hour window or a midday, then an emergency case, and we can go in, and a technician can go in. Okay. So, all right. Hopefully the slides are working now, or the presentation. I apologize for that early, and we will, of course, send out the webinar as well. And all right. And so, again, archives are there. Let me jump back over, and now I'm back on the slides. Hopefully we're seeing that there's the standard package for the BackTrack recovery system is the core system itself that includes access to the 7-day snapshot history, that's the daily snapshots, one archive slot, and one active archive server. Additionally, in the initial rollout, we can go to you can add additional slots for if you need more than one of the archives. We can certainly add additional slots. And if you do have a specific use case where you may need more than more active servers or more additional slots, please feel free to visit with your case manager, and we can work to set those up. Okay. All right, real briefly, I had a feeling this was going to be a short webinar, and I might be hitting it hitting it as well. This might be one of the shortest ones that I've done recently, but I did want to hit on the product roadmap. And with the BackTrack Recovery that we released this summer, we're very excited to finally to get that out and make that available. And again, it is available to any remote learner hosted sites. And then coming in the next few weeks, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we do have an advanced Moodle dashboard coming in. The first round will focus really on the administrators, and within that advanced Moodle dashboard, it really expands the functionalities that seem to be hidden from time to time down in the RL Update Manager block. And this will be a suite of services provided by a remote learner that are all captured in one nice dashboard dashboard view into your system, including reporting, analytics, case management within your system, and the BackTrack Recovery access, a new modular add-on system toolbox, and that it does integrate in some of the POET features as well. If you've heard, Remote Learner has joined in with a number of Moodle partners and other Moodle providers to provide a more consistent vetting process for plugins called POET. That is a exciting advancement. It's something we've been trying to get to for a while, and that was announced last week. And so it'll pull in some of the some more of the features of the POET group with plugins, and the vetting and sorting and being able to find the right plugins that you need and have the confidence that they're secure and not going to provide any damage or security risk. In addition to that, Remote Learner will also be announcing in the September timeframe a new advanced ad hoc reporting tool, and this one is actually very important for Archive. It does work very closely there with BackTrack, and that within the ad hoc reporting, there's a couple of different SQL tools that allow the ability to write ad hoc SQL queries out there. Remote Learner is building on some of those basic building blocks, building in more advanced ad hoc reporting tool that not only gives you access into your Moodle data, but also into LS data, as well as into just some of the standard server information. So you can get a real picture of what's going on within your Moodle environment in real time there within your Moodle server, without having to go out to external servers. Now, some of those reports will be able to plug in directly into the dashboard, and so you'll be able to select some reports, pull them into the dashboard. But where it really gets exciting is those same reports that are available on your production site would also be available on the BackTrack launched server. So again, if you're using BackTrack as a means to run heavy SQL reports and analytics on your data, you'll get access to the same grouping of reports and listing of reports on all of your Remote Learner hosted servers, and that would include the BackTrack server. So we're really excited about that, and are looking forward to really making that announcement, having more webinars over both the dashboard and the ad hoc reporting. All right. Yeah, and again, short, I'm happy to answer any additional questions, but the BackTrack system in and of itself is an exciting system, and I'll address, John, you had a question here on, is it possible to back up just a single category of classes? It's not possible to select. It's going to back up the entire server, each time that the snapshot is a backup of the entire system, and when you create that archive, it's going to create the whole system. So you would be able to go in, launch that, be able to go into that site and find that category, but it is going to be an entire system backup. And one of the items that I failed to mention, but kind of comes in here, is that within the archive is I put it from a version standpoint. If the archive that you make is 2.6 or 2.7 server, and then your production site is upgraded to 2.8, 2.9, 3.0 in the future, whenever you launch the archive, it's going to recreate that 2.6 environment all the way from the server that it was on, the versions of PHP, MySQL, and Apache, all the way up through to that version of Moodle. So you are truly getting a true environment replication of your data in your Moodle system that is there. It's a good question, Vicki and Fiona. I'll scrolling back up and trying to catch. I think we had a couple in here, John and Vicki both asked, can snapshots be downloaded? That is on the roadmap to be able to download a snapshot to a local environment. It is not in the current release. So. Okay, Fiona, your question was, would this allow us to access to uploaded and submitted student assignment docs? The answer to that is yes, as long as those documents were uploaded or captured into Moodle and Moodle and into Ellis, and or the link to those documents, if they're in an external repository, still exist. In other words, if the document was submitted via a link to a Google document and not through the submit process, and the student alternatively deletes that file out of their Google Docs, then it captures what the files that were submitted within Moodle. And just like any other link, if the destination for that link is gone. But the short answer, reading in your question, Fiona, is if it was uploaded and submitted student assignments, then yes, all of that's captured. Everything within the database, everything within the Moodle repositories are fully captured. And that's, Fiona, that is really, again, kind of the, kind of the demand and the initial need was for, to be able to create an auditing server, so that if you need to capture archives for long-term storage for potential audits down the road, this system handles that. Creates that archive, recreates that environment to where the auditors can go in and build that. Some of the other benefits that have come along, and I'm sure there's other benefits that just haven't come up to light yet in other use cases for archive, but reporting seems to be a really popular one right now. So. A restored snapshot Yeah, Randy, that's a good question. The question is, how long can a restored snapshot be kept? And let me come back over to the snapshot screen. In the archive snapshot, those are stored until they are actively deleted. An active site is up for if you launch that active site and get what you need to do and don't turn it off, then it'll automatically be turned off after 7 days, but can be turned back on at any time. So if I were to come in and deactivate this, then there would be a short teardown process, but then I can go through and actually turn it back on, restart that clock again. So. And again, that's kind of just a standard rule that the site's active and up for 7 days. If there needs to be, if you know that you're going through a specific audit time period and you're going to need that site for 30 days, we have ways on the back end to disable that and keep it active for longer. Vicky, on the download, I do not know exactly on the downloads. The downloads are a little bit trickier. Snapshots on the left-hand side are a little bit easier to digest, and I'll have to get back on exactly when on the roadmap that would come into play. The archives, the archive snapshots, simply because they're a little bit more inclusive of the server data and the environment data. I know has been a little bit trickier. But. I do have some cost estimates, and all the costs are based on let me get some of those pulled up real quick. Costs are largely based on storage price. So for a base system that's 300 gigabytes, and this is your total production storage with remote learner. So if you have a base system with no additional storage, that includes 100 gigabytes. And so let's kind of start there. Then the costing is for the BackTrack system for a 12-month period with 1 archive slots is $900 for 100 gigs. To give you a comparison, if you're running a 300 gig system, that goes up to $2,700 for the year. If you were to jump into the full available system to really maximize it out at that 300 gigabyte storage capacity, if you were to add the 3 additional archive slots, that would add $1,600 to the 27, so a total of $4,320. And that's over the term. So. And again, if you need to get down to details, certainly your account manager can take a look at what your current system's at capacity-wise, storage-wise, and can work up a individual quote. All right. John, renaming an archive snapshot, that is another thing that came out really quick onto the roadmap, and that hopefully by within the next 3 months, that capability of renaming the archive. I do have a little bit more data on that, but we are working on the interface to allow you to rename the archives. One of the other items on the roadmap that I briefly mentioned this, but not to make too light of a point. All of the external authentication methods are disabled in that restored archive, just because there's no way for us to verify those external systems. And so it is important, to make sure you remember if you're not using a manually authenticated administration account on a regular basis, it's currently, it is important to at least create one manual account there that can access into the archives. Within the near future, one of the improvements is to actually generate a manual account, provide that username information back, username password information back at the time of creation. So, if you routinely use a manual administrative account, that same manual administrative account would work in the restored archive. If you primarily use an external authentication method, then again, hopefully within the next couple of releases, the archive creation process will actually generate kind of a backup username and password for the admin to get into the archive site. Okay, John has another question. Our use cases archive older semesters of data so we can pull them off our production server. Absolutely. Do you support this use case? And that really within the collegiate K through 12 education environment, that is very much the use case. So when you create that archive snapshot, you can trust that your data is going to be there as it was at the end of that semester. And then again, frees up your production site for any changes that you need to make, deleting off any data, cleaning it up, or restoring it back to previous state. And traditionally, I mean, that's really our number one request into for archive is storing that semester's worth of data or that year's worth of data, and that's what archives are designed to do. And again, we're being a little bit conservative on the 4 archive slots that are available in this first rollout. But if you do have a specific use case where you need to store more than 4, you can work with your account manager, and we can work out additional additional slots to store as many, to really store as many as you need. Okay. And okay, and just running back up through the list for any questions that I might have missed. Jason, if you're still on, how many archive snapshots can we have? Again, up to 4 is the standard package. The archive system itself comes with 1 snapshot slot, but you can add an additional 3. And if you have a unique use case, or a use case, it doesn't necessarily have to be unique, but a use case that is that you need additional slots, then we can add those slots at any time. Okay, I think we've covered all the questions on the list. If nobody has any additional questions, then thank you for your time. And again, if you do have additional questions, need additional information, please visit remotelearner.net or contact your account manager. We do have a new lookout on remote-learner.net, so if you haven't visited out there, it's a fun new site. And again, we've got not only archive, BackTrack is the first step. We've got a number of new really features and services that are coming in the next 30 to 60 days that we'll really hope to really targeted to Moodle administrators and giving you the information that you need in an easy access directly within your Moodle site. So we'll be excited to come back and talk about some of those other products and features that are coming out in the next couple of months. All right, Brian, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone, for attending. We'll get a recording link up on our Vimeo site. That way you can go back to it and you can refer to it. We'll also send a follow-up email out as well. So thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a good day.